Chapter 2960. And this interest made Fox St. Law even more jealous. That lass's acuity is extremely strong. From the moment you let those defective products attack her, she must have thought of a plan. She also knows the characters of you and the two abandoned pawns very well. She knows that when she is in trouble, Yenjin Fei and Mei, the two abandoned pawns, will come out to mock her. She also knows what you are thinking. The gloomy cold voice was mixed with a hint of laughter. It was the kind of excited laughter that one's blood was boiling after meeting a prey. Even if it was Fox St. Law. Under this strange gloomy cold laughter, she couldn't help but feel a chill down her spine. She curled her fingers tightly. Her arrogant mentality made her unwilling to admit her fear towards the gloomy cold voice. She forced herself to stand up straight and gave a disdainful harumph. This palace mistress doesn't believe that scoundrel has such a scheming mind. It's just that her luck is a little better and she's relying on the backing of the overlord. The gloomy cold voice didn't add any more words towards Fox St. Law's strong support. Instead, it minded its own business and started talking about Yi Qing Luo, that lass's actions, although it looks very simple, but in actual fact, to be like her, to borrow a knife to kill someone, and to borrow it so perfectly, even you, second palace mistress, can't do it. The gloomy cold voice disregarded Fox St. Law's arrogant words. Once again, it praised Yi Qing Luo. This kind of action was a heavy slap on Fox St. Law's face. And now, it was using Fox St. Law to compare with Yi Qing Luo. Thinking that Fox St. Law couldn't be compared to Yi Qing Luo. This kind of words fell into the arrogant Fox St. Law's ears, and the disgust towards Yi Qing Luo in his heart grew even more. And his disdain towards Yi Qing Luo grew even more. Don't be unconvinced. The gloomy cold voice gave a few cold laughs. These 100 over puppets, although they are all defective products, but after all there are quite a lot of them. Under the condition of not hurting a single puppet, leaving behind a strand of profound chi, and speedily getting away from the puppet's encirclement. To restrain those puppets. To be able to do this, not only does one need to be extremely fast, one also must be able to control one's profound energy freely and have 100% confidence. She wants to leave the encirclement of the puppets while holding her breath without anyone noticing, and she also wants to control the remaining profound energy. Let me ask you, second palace master, are you able to do it? At this point, the cold voice paused and threw out a rhetorical question. The question caused Linghu Xingfa's face to turn pale. After the two chess pieces fell into the trap she set up, she used the dead corpse puppet's unwillingness to give up until they reached their goal. She ordered the dead corpse puppets to encircle the two chess pieces. It's also very difficult to control this. This girl is really an interesting prey. I can't wait to bring this prey home and teach teacher Zhou a good lesson. Stop your wishful thinking. Fox St. Law's eyes were dark and ruthless. Her seductive expression no longer existed, and her eyes were filled with jealousy and hatred. She is someone that the palace lord has taken a fancy to. You dare to snatch her from the palace lord. The gloomy cold voice didn't say another word. Fox St. Law gave a cold laugh as she squinted her beautiful eyes. That scoundrel has been described by you to be so mysterious. This palace lord would like to try how powerful that scoundrel is. Fox St. Law gave a cold harumph as a powerful profound energy fluctuation exploded from her body. Chapter 2961. Yi Qing Luo was on high alert as she surveyed the surroundings, releasing her senses. In his mind, old man Tsang's voice was very anxious. What a dense evil energy. Although it was only for an instant. I can be sure that it came from the earth realm, from the Hell Palace. From old man Tsang's explanation, Yi Qing Luo knew. The Hell Palace was an evil palace in the upper realm. The Underworld Palace, as its name suggested, was a place known as Hell on Earth. The people inside were basically not human anymore. They had all cultivated evil arts and turned into monsters that were neither human nor ghost. Compared to the small forces outside of the upper realm like the dark forces, it was even more terrifying. After all, the underworld palace was filled with a bunch of lunatics who researched all sorts of evil arts. A bunch of madmen who didn't care about their lives at all. It could be said that the people of the Earth domain would tremble in fear when the underworld palace was mentioned. No one dared to provoke the underworld palace. No one was willing to provoke the underworld palace. Who would dare to provoke someone who didn't want to live? After Yi Qing Luo heard all these, the expression on her face congealed. Hell manner. Did someone from the palace of gloomy darkness invite a madman from the underworld palace to help? We still do not know what the power behind the secluded palace of Tenebrous Palace is. Are they hired as helpers, or are they in cahoots with the underworld palace? All of these are possible. Old Man Song's tone was extremely heavy. Girl, if the people from the underworld palace make a move, if you can escape, it's best to escape as much as possible. Old Man Song added another sentence in the end. To be able to make Old Man Song say the word escape. From this, it could be seen exactly how powerful that so-called underworld palace was. Yi Qing Luo sensed the surroundings for a long time. He didn't sense anything strange at all. At this moment, Yi Qing Luo's body moved. Her strong sense of perception allowed her to evade swiftly. A powerful gust of wind exploded from the place where she had just been standing. The terrifying qi waves surged like a tide. The surrounding Miao tribesmen were so terrified that they screamed out loud. Just how powerful was he? How profound was his profound rank to be able to create such a sensation? Vice Palace Master of Dark Abyss Palace, he was actually so powerful. The Miao tribesmen's fear towards the Palace of Darkness deepened once again. Compared to the shock and fear of the Miao tribesmen, Yi Qing Luo's expression was extremely calm. Her cold eyes glanced sideways at the place where she had just been standing and the shockwave created. She narrowed her eyes and looked towards the direction where the profound energy had come from. Fox Saint Fa opened her arms and floated in midair. Her veil fluttered, and her profound energy continued to surge. Finally willing to take action yourself? Yi Qing Luo sneered in ridicule. Fox Saint's eyes turned slightly cold. Her exquisite and seductive face looked sinister and awe-inspiring. Yi Qing Luo. It's your honor to die in this palace master's hands. As soon as he finished speaking, the Fox Saint technique flew out. Her hands were soft and boneless, drawing out countless roaring profound energy. That profound energy cut through the air, extremely piercingly cold. When it was charging straight at them, Yi Qing Luo's heart suddenly felt hot. She narrowed her eyes and carefully stared at the profound heart jade on the Fox Saint Fa's chest. A yellow quality profound jade heart was releasing an extremely dazzling golden light. Yellow-grade profound heart jade. Yi Qing Luo speedily retreated a few steps, as she gave a cold smile. She had not expected that after the Fox Saint technique took over Yi Qing Qian's body, it also took over Yi Qing Qian's profound heart jade. But this quality of profound heart jade. Chapter 2962. Lass, you still need to be careful. This woman has that evil qi on her. She should have had direct contact with the people from the Hell Palace. Old Man Song reminded her in his divine sense. Yi Qing Luo clenched the glower flame fan in her hand. Her gaze stared unblinkingly at Fox Saint Law, whose beautiful eyes were filled with hatred. That intense hatred. It was extremely obvious. A woman in rage and hatred has unlimited potential. Her enmity towards me is too deep, not only because of jealousy, but also that evil qi, unknowingly, affected her. Yi Qing Luo just took one look and saw through the root of it. Old Man Song also thought so. Indeed so, evil qi is the easiest thing to affect people's hearts. While they were talking, Fox Saint Law's second wave of attack, once again came swiftly. Phew! A sound of air breaking was heard. That force directly swept past Yi Qing Luo's dress. It carried an extremely biting cold. The strong wind suddenly rose, making Yi Qing Luo backhand, opened the glower flame fan, and immediately counterattacked. Boom! A loud sound. Two forces exploded in mid-air. Yi Qing Luo's figure was forced to retreat a few steps. The force which brushed past her dress also shattered her sleeves. The red-like fire sleeves turned into rags, fluttering along with the hurricane. Yi Qing Luo frowned, glancing sideways at her own wide sleeve, leaving only a white inner garment. Yellow-grade profound jade heart. It was actually able to release such a powerful force. Looked like she had underestimated Fox Saint Law. Yi Qing Luo might as well tore off the other wide sleeve and flung it aside. Without the obstruction of the wide sleeve, it was even more enjoyable to fight. In the air, the two forces of profound waves were still rippling. Everyone was shocked by the power in the air, as their hearts trembled. In everyone's eyes, although Yi Qing Luo's sleeve was shattered. But Fox Saint Law was forced by Yi Qing Luo to retreat more than 10 meters, and even stood firmly, in a rather sorry state. It could be said that, this confrontation, both of them didn't gain any advantage. They really couldn't see the gap between the two's strength. But, because they couldn't see, everyone's admiration towards Yi Qing Luo was even more. One must know that Yi Qing Luo was just a 15-year-old girl. His opponent was the evil palace's second palace master, who was on par with the monarch palace. To be able to fight to a draw, Yi Qing Luo was already very impressive. Fox Saint Technique was startled for a moment by this clash. A trace of anger gradually appeared in her enchanting eyes. Her brows creased tightly as she stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo's direction. Fox Sacred Technique, just one move and you're admitting defeat. Unfortunately, under Fox Sacred Technique's vengeful gaze, Yi Qing Luo still had to tease him with a tender smile. Fox Saint Law's pupils were instantly dyed red, profound chi once again exploding. The attack was swift and fierce. Yi Qing Luo's glower flame fan opened up and the raging profound energy blended with the glower flame fan. A huge red dragon emerged from the glowing flame fan. Boom boom boom. The red dragon soared into the sky and covered half of the sky. Roar, clang, clang. When the red dragon appeared, the roars of Shi Ju and Qi Yan also resounded. The sky above the entire Miao tribe was filled with the roars of wild beasts. It was earth-shattering, deafening. It attracted all the surrounding magical beasts, as they couldn't help but start their escape mode. That's a dragon. Dragon. Second Elder Miao pointed at the red dragon in shock. Chapter 2963. Profound Energy. Created. Fourth Elder Miao's pupils constricted as his face was filled with shock or terror. She's already so strong that she can use the profound energy to form a material object to attack. The flying dragon which was circling in mid-air kept on flying. Boundless dark force surged wildly. What kind of monster is this lady? We have two freakishly powerful battle pets and a dragon. This isn't a real dragon. It's profound energy, it's profound energy. The secluded palace's disciples who were battling with Shi Ju, Qi Yan and Yan Shao Yi were shocked by this scene. Thousands of people, under the attack of the two battle pets, had no way to resist at all. But now, after seeing the red dragon that Yi Qing Luo released, all their arrogance was suppressed. When the Fox Saint Law saw the giant dragon, she frowned slightly. She wasn't shocked. Just that she couldn't believe it. However, when the red dragon charged down with a tyrannical profound chi, Lin Fan's eyes widened. Fox Saint Law had no choice but to believe that this was not a smokescreen. Her face instantly turned pale. The dragon head which was charging towards her was roaring and brandishing its claws, as though it was going to swallow her up completely. She was fast. But no matter how fast she was, she couldn't be faster than the dragon. In a moment of desperation, Fox St. Law's eyes flashed, dead corpse puppets. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Following Fox St. Law's command. Those dead corpse puppets which were originally surrounding the profound energy which I Ching Luo created and attacking crazily all rushed towards Fox St. Law. Bam bam bam. The red dragon's power instantly landed on the undead corpse puppets. A few deafening sounds were heard. Pieces of badly mutilated flesh splattered in all directions. Those were the dead corpse puppets which were blasted into powder by the red dragon's power. These dead corpse puppets were all defective products. Many of them were still in the midst of cleaning up the corpse gas and rotting corpse water. This explosion. Instantly it was filled with a rotten stench. Fox St. Law was the closest. The moment when the dead corpse puppets exploded. Fox St. Law's entire body was covered with large pieces of minced meat and corpse water. There wasn't any sticky blood. But that corpse water was stained with the minced meat. And it was in the middle of her forehead. Fox St. Law's throat rolled, he was furious again. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Fox St. Fa's entire body reeked of a disgusting stench and she was so disgusted that she was totally unable to tolerate it. The venom in her eyes towards I Ching Luo was burning more and more intensely. Whereas I Ching Luo, who was by the side, slowly retracted the profound energy which she had released. The gathering of the roars dissipated bit by bit. I Ching Luo moved her palm. The devouring flame fan closed. The aura of the red dragon also dissipated. She gracefully stood amidst the flesh and blood on the ground. Even though both her sleeves had been destroyed, it still did not affect her otherworldly temperament. His monstrous aura caused others to submit. This move was executed. In addition, Yen Zhenfei and Mei had died. In the end, Fox St. Law was also battered and exhausted. The arrogance of the Dark Nether Palace disciples had long been suppressed. Obviously, I Ching Luo's side only had 2 war pets and a few young students. Gue Wu had yet to make a move. They already felt, there was no doubt that they would lose this battle. Fox St. Law pressed down on his heart, mobilizing the remaining profound qi in his profound jade heart. Her face was filled with blood stains and her body was filled with a rotten stench, which made the cold intent in her eyes deepened. Not resigned. She couldn't just admit defeat to that scoundrel. This broken body, the profound jade heart's quality was actually so low. She couldn't even use a third of her former strength. If it was her in the past. Chapter 2964. Jia Jia Jia, that cold voice once again rang in the Fox Saint Technique's ears. Fox Saint Technique seemed to have been ridiculed, and his scarlet eyes widened in anger and humiliation. What's so funny? It's just that this body is too broken, it's not my true strength. Even now, you still don't believe this seat's words. The gloomy voice laughed coldly, full of disdain. You're not that girl's opponent. Just one move. Fox St. Law had clearly suffered a great loss. But Fox St. Law was still confident that he didn't lose to I Ching Luo, but lost to his own body. Fox St. Law indeed felt that way. Especially after the cold and gloomy voice said those words without any disguise. The fury in the depths of Fox St. Fa's eyes grew even more exuberant. Who said that this palace lord is inferior to her? If not for this body, this palace master would have long captured that scoundrel alive. Tisk, tsk, tisk. That cold voice sneered again. Shut up. Shut up. Fox St. Law had a sinister look on his face as he roared angrily. Meanwhile, I Ching Luo's eyes stared intently at the Fox Saint Technique, and in her mind, was Old Man Tsang's vigilant voice, "Lass." It was that evil aura again. The aura coming from Fox St. Law's body is from the underworld palace. Coincidentally, he heard the angry roar of the Fox Saint technique. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed little by little. Since I've confirmed that the evil energy came from the Fox Saint technique, then, I can only kill the Fox Saint technique first. Her words caused Old Man Tsang to panic. Little Luo, don't be silly. With your current strength, it's impossible for you to defeat the madman from the underworld palace. Their goal. I still can't tell. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips tightly as the expression on her face was extremely grave. Ah Xian is still curing the goo. If I escape and they find Ah Xian, what should I do? Old Man Tsang was momentarily speechless. The reason why the palace of gloomy darkness would appear here. It was nothing more than taking advantage of Dmo Xian's absence. Which also meant that the people from the Palace of Darkness had at least 70% and above certainty that Dmo Xian would not be able to rush over to save them at this moment. If Yiqing Luo brought her brothers and ran away, the people of the Miao tribe were not important. But Dmo Xian who was curing the goo in Miao tribe. Yiqing Luo indeed couldn't escape and couldn't escape. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers clenched tightly as her gaze turned biting cold. Since he couldn't escape, he had to face it head-on. As long as he killed the Fox Saint technique before the evil energy leaked out, he might even be able to stop that madman from the underworld palace from appearing. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and glanced at the azure dew ring that had replaced the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip. On the top of the ring, there were even wisps of frightening red light flowing around. It seemed that he still had to use the power of the divine artifact. Now, her body was being suppressed by the heart tranquility bead. Even if I use the power of a divine tool, I still need you to control whether or not it will lead to a backlash from the profound jade heart. Just as he was thinking about this, Yiqing Luo suddenly raised her head as her eyes swiftly shot towards the direction of the Fox Saint technique. An incomparably powerful and tyrannical aura suddenly burst out. In an instant, it engulfed the entire Miao tribe's entrance. When Yiqing Luo's vision shifted onto Fox Saint technique at the same time, a burst of bright and resplendent light enveloped Fox Saint technique within it. The surging profound chi was like a tide as it surged with tyrannical waves, forcefully breaking apart the pressure which Yiqing Luo had laid out. Chapter 2965. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly expanded. What was going on? Why? Within Fox St. Law's body, would such dense profound energy suddenly rise explosively? He had actually managed to tear her pressure apart. How was it possible for Fox St. Law to explode such powerful profound energy in such a short period of time? Not good. Fox St. Law's profound grade is continuing to explode. Old Man Tsang also sensed the change in Fox St. Law's aura and immediately reminded her. Profound grade exploding. Serene Yin was already dead. What other methods did secluded palace have to make use of demonic qi to raise profound energy in a short period of time? Yiqing Luo was filled with doubts. And at this moment, Fox St. Law's profound grade exploding was also filled with doubts. Fox St. Law only felt that her profound jade heart was about to explode. The swelling feeling made her feel that her heart was about to explode in the next moment. Endless raging flames, desperately burning everything about her. Making her unable to endure this kind of pain, her voice was hoarse, as she whimpered in pain. Don't you feel that because of this body that doesn't belong to you, you lost to that lass? This seat shall give you this chance, to let you wipe away your previous humiliation. A sinister voice rang eerily while Fox St. Law was in pain. And that surging energy in her body, and the scorching feeling of the raging flames, made Fox St. Law unable to say a single word. Ah, the last, heart-wrenching scream came out from Fox St. Law's mouth. That gush of dazzling light which wrapped around Fox St. Law, at this moment, exploded in all directions. Those bursts of light were like fine threads, densely shooting out. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned sharp, as her feather fan waved. She looked sharply at Yan Xiaoyi and the rest. Be careful. Avoid these light rays. With Yiqing Luo's reminder. Although the few of them were in a sorry state, but they managed to avoid those densely packed light rays. But the surrounding secluded palace's disciples, as well as the Miao tribesmen, weren't so lucky. Fox St. Law's eyes were still shut tightly, her hands clenched into fists, her entire body tensed up, as though she was gathering all her energy. Numerous light rays shook off from her body. As it spread to the surroundings, it turned into streaks of light, like sharp blades. Everywhere he passed, blood splattered and severed limbs flew in all directions. This bloody scene caused the Palace of Darkness and the Miao tribe to wail like ghosts and howl like wolves. And at this time, the Fox Saint technique that had been injected with limitless power had no time to care about the chaos it had created. Under the corrosion of the demonic aura, there was only one thought in his mind, that was, to kill Yiqing Luo. She wanted everyone who looked down on her to shut their mouths. She wanted to let everyone know that she, the Fox St. Law, relied on her own strength to sit in this position. Bang, bang, bang. The stronger the will, the fiercer the profound energy on the Fox Saint technique's body attacked. A powerful pressure exploded in the surrounding air, creating huge vortexes. The disciples and clansmen of both sides suffered heavy casualties under this oppressive might. Such a turn of events. First Elder Miao and Second Elder Miao could not help but turn pale. The both of them had been paying close attention to Yiqing Luo. Just as Yiqing Luo was reminding his brother, he followed Yiqing Luo's words and dodged the light rays which shot over from the surroundings. They had managed to survive. But among the Miao tribesmen, there were at least hundreds of them who had died under those dense light rays. Before they had the chance to settle these injured tribesmen. Chapter 2966. Seeing more and more Miao tribesmen fleeing in all directions while wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves, Great Elder Miao's fists clenched tighter and tighter. Eldest brother, why don't we beg Miss Yi? As long as she nods her head, let the Overlord bring the Imperial Palace's disciples to appear and Miao tribe will be saved. Second Elder Miao suggested anxiously. Great Elder Miao's eyes flashed as though he was moved. Fourth Elder Miao, who was hiding by the side, revealed a contemptuous smile as he looked at Yiqing Luo and sneered, Second brother, have you gone senile? Do you think someone like Yiqing Luo will listen to our pleas? Earlier, how did Miao tribe treat her? It's already considered as her mercy that she didn't exterminate us personally. Fourth Elder Miao's words made Great Elder Miao and Second Elder Miao fall into silence. When Fourth Elder Miao saw this, he struck while the iron was hot. Also, if the Overlord is really in Miao tribe, he might really appear. Based on his character of valuing Yiqing Luo so much, he would have appeared the moment Miao tribe was surrounded by secluded palace. How could he not be seen until now? Great Elder Miao's face turned paler. Either the Overlord isn't in Miao tribe, or the Overlord himself can't make it in time. Fourth Elder Miao continued to analyze. Great Elder Miao and Second Elder Miao exchanged glances as they were drenched in cold sweat. Actually, they had a thought in their hearts. Yiqing Luo was here. Dmo Xian would definitely appear. But after hearing Fourth Elder Miao's analysis, they then realized the seriousness of the matter. If the Overlord didn't make it in time, just based on Yiqing Luo and those few kids who hadn't even grown out their hair, they were absolutely not secluded palace's match. Even if there was a mirage beast-grade leopard, adding on to the vermilion bird which looked like one of the four sacred beasts. But it was still impossible to go against the entire secluded palace. Look, the second palace lord had shown his prowess. They didn't even have a chance to breathe. Seeing the Miao tribe's casualties increasing, Great Elder Miao's heart tightened even more. Eldest brother, second brother. I have a suggestion. Fourth Elder Miao saw that their emotions were already under his control, so he took the opportunity to speak out. The two of them immediately looked at Fourth Elder Miao with hopeful eyes. Fourth Elder Miao lowered his voice and said helplessly, "Now, we can only rely on the Palace of Darkness to protect the Miao tribe. Join. Great Elder Miao was startled. If the Miao tribe surrendered to the Palace of Darkness, the Miao tribe would no longer be an independent power. It was a subsidiary of the Palace of Darkness. Elders like them would also become slaves of the Dark Nether Palace. How could Great Elder Miao be willing to be under someone else? This is the only way to protect the Miao tribe. Otherwise, if the people from secluded Darkness Palace annihilate our Miao tribe, we won't even be able to live." Fourth Elder Miao could see First Elder Miao's hesitation. But, joining the Palace of Gloomy Darkness requires the approval of the Saintess. Although Second Elder Miao was a little tempted, this was still a big deal. Saintess. Fourth Elder Miao sneered. Ever since Miao Yi accepted the Gu King's inheritance, she has disappeared. Now that the Miao tribe is in such great trouble, she still hasn't appeared. What's the use of having a saintess like her? Speaking of Miao Yi. Then, he thought of what Miao Yi had done. Chapter 2967. Under Fourth Elder Miao's deliberate instigation. First Elder Miao and Second Elder Miao's initial hesitation had already nodded their heads and decided, in order to protect the Miao clan, we will rely on the secluded palace. Yi Qing Luo didn't have the mood to pay attention to this episode. Her brows were tightly knitted as her battle intent was gradually ignited in the air under the shapeless fluctuation. By the time Fox Saint Law stabilized her own strength, it was already half an incense's time later. Yi Qing Luo. The hoarse voice no longer had the previous coquettish tone. Fox Saint Law growled Yi Qing Luo's name, extremely ear-piercing and sharp. That pair of seductive beautiful eyes were burning with a terrifying red glow, as though blood had spread out, covering the entire white of her eyes. That delicate face also showed a bit of twisted malevolence. She gave off an extremely vicious and crazy vibe. Fox Saint Law didn't have any hesitation or nonsense. After howling out Yi Qing Luo's name, it turned into a black ray, directly attacking towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Thick profound energy collided against Yi Qing Luo's surrounding profound energy shield. Not only the air, even the ground, because of Fox Saint Law's attack, started to shake continuously. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows were tightly knitted, as she hurriedly tried to evade. But when that burst of profound energy attacked, Yi Qing Luo felt as though she was being pressed down fiercely by an invisible mountain. Her legs didn't even have the energy to move. This made Yi Qing Luo's alarm bells rang loudly. Fox Saint Law's attack, indeed, made her feel pressured. But she had never thought that Fox Saint Law's current profound energy was actually powerful to such a stage. It had already far exceeded her expectations. What on earth was going on? Could it be a madman from Hell Palace? Yi Qing Luo only had this guess in her heart. Old Man Tsang replied uncertainly, "I only sensed a trace of aura, and it disappeared very quickly. Now from Fox Saint Law, I don't feel any strange aura." Yi Qing Luo's expression became increasingly grave. She couldn't hide. Then she could only meet him head-on. She clenched her teeth, using all her strength to resist that heavy pressure, as she speedily rotated the glower flame fan in her hands. Red light shot out, enveloping her within. Bang! The Fox Saint Technique's attack fiercely landed on the red light. The red light trembled and suddenly dispersed. Whereas Yi Qing Luo's 2 feet, which were standing on the original spot, actually sank downwards, as it sunk a little. "Are you very surprised?" Fox St. Law looked at Yi Ching Luo's expression as he laughed complacently. To be able to see Yi Ching Luo suffering a setback, without any ability to retaliate at all. Fox Saint Technique didn't care about the reason for such a change in her body. She only knew. She had this power. Chapter 2968. Yi Ching Luo, you can't escape, you can't escape. Fox St. Law's almost insane voice was filled with disgust and hatred. She was howling as she released a thick and overbearing profound energy, turning into a black ray as she pressed forward. That powerful, thick, and frightening power. It made Yi Ching Luo's heart filled with waves of shock. Yi Ching Luo's pupils constricted as her 5 fingers moved. The azure dew ring on her fingertips seemed to be covered with a layer of blood-colored light at this instance. Swoosh! A gust of air current cut through the air. Endless red light overflowed from the azure dew ring as it speedily enveloped Yi Ching Luo entirely. At the same time, Fox St. Law's attack had already landed. Bam! An earth-shattering overbearing attack headed straight for Yi Ching Luo's vital points. Ching Luo! Ching Luo! When Yen Xiao Yi and the others saw this scene, they were so shocked that they cried out Yi Ching Luo's name. Even Shi Ju and Qi Yan, at this instance, dashed towards Yi Ching Luo. But everything was too late. That overbearing and violent profound energy seemed as though it could destroy the heavens and earth as it all exploded on Yi Ching Luo. The ground was like a spider web as it densely spread out. Rumble, the nearby mountain peaks of the Miao tribe all collapsed. The surroundings were filled with the wails of the Miao tribe. And the secluded palace's disciples' terrified cries. Die! Go and die! Go and die! No one can make me a joke. No one can be more powerful than me. All the scoundrels who have humiliated this palace master must die. But just as Fox St. Law revealed a joyous expression, suddenly, a burst of sharp energy shot out from that overbearing profound energy. At this moment, the bewitching red glow that enveloped the surroundings was like a huge red dragon with its mouth wide open and raging flames lingering around it. That bloody mouth was constantly swallowing the attacks of the Fox Saint Technique. Die! Fox Saint Law, aren't you a little too confident? The young lady's sweet voice was filled with ridicule and ridicule. Under that red dragon's encirclement, a red figure flew out from the tyrannical dark force. The girl's slender figure and skirt fluttered in the wind like a blooming rose. Her silky black hair danced in the wind, further complementing her beautiful face, which was peerless in this world. The girl's right hand was covered by a layer of red light. At the tip of his fingers was a feather fan that emitted a red glow. Everyone was stunned by this scene. All of them widened their eyes in disbelief as they stared at the girl floating in the air. It was unimaginable. A 15-year-old girl. How did he manage to survive the powerful attacks of the second palace master of the Netherworld Palace? Moreover, he was able to survive. Furthermore, he was completely unscathed. Especially when he saw the girl standing in midair. Her long and narrow eyes stared coldly ahead. That unparalleled aura that stood above all others caused others to feel as if they were blaspheming her by just looking at her. This was Yi Ching Luo's ability. This was the true strength of the legendary heroine of the West Wave continent. Damn it! Fox St. Law's exquisite little face was filled with a twisted anger. She couldn't believe it. She had gathered all her energy and exploded a fatal blow, but it was blocked by Yi Ching Luo. She actually blocked it. That obviously looked like a useless young lady. Chapter 2969. Splash. Don't even think of escaping. Fox Saint Dharma's furious eyes were filled with rage, without a single bit of seductive charm. She let out a loud roar. The profound energy surrounding her swelled up once again, like a volcano eruption, as it surged upwards. That powerful profound energy. The suppressed air seemed to have been condensed. The surrounding disciples who were trying to escape were pushed, and those who got nearer were all torn into pieces by this powerful force. Simply, it didn't differentiate between friend and foe. The entire entrance of the Miao tribe was a scene of carnage. Blood and flesh splattered, and the blood stench, along with the wind, could be transmitted for hundreds of miles. The Miao tribesmen, one by one, escaped into the Miao tribe. There were some Miao tribesmen who wanted to seek protection from the elders. But they discovered they totally couldn't find the existence of those few elders. Instantly, the Miao tribesmen panicked. One by one, the tribesmen who had never experienced such a big scene were so scared that their bodies turned soft as they knelt on the ground. Swoosh, 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 that tyrannical profound energy was still cutting through the air, crashing over. The crowd obviously felt that breathing was getting harder and harder. The air was condensed by the profound energy, becoming thinner and thinner. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Gue Wu, who had been watching by the side, suddenly congealed his eyes on Fox Saint Dharma. Gue Wu's rare words attracted the attention of the few beside him. Zhou Mo tightly hugged Kitty Li, who was struggling to pounce towards Yi Qing Luo, as he turned his head, looking at Gue Wu with a grave expression. Ah Wu, what do you mean by this? That second palace lord's aura is not right. Gue Wu frowned slightly, as his voice was unprecedentedly solemn. That's not her aura, instead. It seems like someone intentionally transferring their own energy into her body. Gue Wu's fanaticism towards martial arts made him understand anything related to profound energy to some extent. And the person hiding in the dark, I didn't sense any aura. The last sentence, Gue Wu's tone, was a little solemn. Zhou Mo's expression changed. Even Gue Wu couldn't sense the aura. From this, it could be seen just how powerful the person secretly transferring power to the Second Palace Master was. Second Palace Lord's hatred towards Qing Luo is so deep, as though there's a blood feud between them. She didn't want to capture Qing Luo alive, but to kill her. Yan Xiao Yi stomped her feet anxiously. If not for Qiao Jin forcefully pulling her back, she would have already carried her black scythe blade and charged forward. This Second Palace Master is just a chess piece. Gue Wu furrowed his eyebrows as his gaze turned deep and serene. You guys stay by the side and watch. I'll look around for traces of the person hiding in the dark. We can only watch from the side. Peach clenched her fists and stared at Yi Qing Luo's direction, biting her lower lip. You don't have to worry about that last Qing Luo. To her, this is the best training. Gue Wu said indifferently as his figure disappeared into thin air, disappearing without a trace. The best training. Training. In the eyes of the ghost marshal, it was so powerful that it could destroy heaven and earth. Just Yi Qing Luo's training. Everyone's hearts which were at their throats, unknowingly, slowly calmed down at this moment. Unknowingly, they believed in Gue Wu's words. Whereas at this moment, the red-robed young lady who was standing in mid-air, slowly raised her hand which was holding the glower flame fan. Chapter 2970. Towards that raging, soaring profound energy and emitting oppressive aura. It totally didn't affect the young lady's transformation. The young lady's slender fingers, under the contrast of the red glow, looked extremely fair and eye-catching. Her fingers twitched. Just like a remnant shadow. The glower fan opened up. 2 rays of red glow were released from both her hands, intertwining continuously. The young lady's hand which was holding the glower fan had not stopped for even a second. The remnant shadow floated, as though playing a beautiful tune on the glower fan. The hurricane wantonly attacked. It swept up the ground full of flesh and broken limbs, sand and gravel. Kill. Fox Saint Fa's palm flipped, the 9-segment whip wrapped around her hand, turning into a sharp blade, striking towards Yi Qing Luo. The torrential profound energy covered the sky and earth, directly pressed down on Yi Qing Luo. Qing Luo. Even though she believed Ghost Marshal's words. When she saw this scene, Yan Xiao Yi and the others couldn't help but had a change of expression. However, in the instant that the Fox Saint technique's long whip, which was like an ice-cold viper, flew over, Yi Qing Luo also opened her eyes abruptly. Fox Saint Fa's speed was fast. Yi Qing Luo was even faster. Under the situation where the naked eye couldn't see, the glower fan in Yi Qing Luo's hands had already forced the 9-segment whip's energy back. The red glow intertwined, the glower fan was like an excited fire elf, as it flew around in the surrounding air. Fox Saint Fa only felt a surge of vast and majestic profound energy, as it followed along her 9-segment whip and pressed down. She was shocked by this sudden burst of energy, as her entire body tensed up. The long whip left her hand. Her body, followed closely, flew backwards. Just barely, before she stabilized her footsteps. Under both of their feet, there was already a huge deep pit. The surrounding mountains were still collapsing continuously. The huge rocks rolled, extremely terrifying. At this moment, even the Miao tribesmen, as well as secluded palace's disciples, couldn't help but stop in their tracks. He raised his head high and looked at the sky. This was a shocking and intense battle. This was the battle between the top experts. Fox Saint Fa felt helpless on her chest. An oppressive feeling that she couldn't calm down caused her to feel stifled and painful even when she breathed. He only felt that the energy accumulated in the profound heart jade seemed like it would explode at any time. Her scarlet red eyes stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. He was filled with anger. Bitch! You used a divine artifact to cheat. Fox Saint Law's hoarse voice roared with unwillingness. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her long and narrow eyes. Fox Saint technique, your words are rather funny. Her pink lips curled up into a radiant smile, forming a stark contrast with the Fox Saint's pale face. We aren't competing or anything, so how can I be considered cheating? Soon after, Yi Qing Luo's smile became even more enchanting. Moreover, I'm using the power of the God armament. Anyway, the God armament is mine. Terrifying Fox Saint technique, what about you? Her eyes narrowed as she smiled, and a circle of sly red light appeared in her eyes. Fox Saint Fa's body stiffened. You. What nonsense are you spouting? Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you know best in your heart, Fox Saint Law. Yi Qing Luo closed the glower flame fan, propped her chin, and narrowed her eyes, as she fixed her gaze on Fox Saint Law. Fox Saint Law's face turned slightly pale, as though she couldn't understand. How did Yi Qing Luo see through the reason for the change in her power? Chapter 2971. Fox Saint Law's hand which was pressing on her heart suddenly paused. Her breathing also became heavier. A pair of bewitching scarlet eyes stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. What Yi Qing Luo said was indeed right. The profound energy on her body was indeed getting weaker and weaker under the repeated attacks. It was as though it would dissipate at any moment. That cold voice transmitted a powerful energy to her. After the battle with Yi Qing Luo, this body of hers was unable to withstand that powerful energy. The more it consumed, the more it consumed. The faster her body decayed, the faster her body decayed. If she continued to fight with Yi Qing Luo like this body of hers would definitely not be able to withstand this energy. Most likely, the consequences would not only be a backlash. There was also a possibility that her profound heart jade would explode from that cold energy, causing her heart to burst and die. Until now. Fox Saint Law then realized that because of her anger towards Yi Qing Luo, it had led her to such a state. At this moment, if she advanced, there was a possibility that the new life which she had just obtained would disappear once again. If she retreated, wouldn't it be admitting in front of everyone that she was no match for Yi Qing Luo? Fox Saint Law gritted her teeth, as her eyes were filled with hatred. Yi Qing Luo, that slut, actually had a divine relic in her hands. She actually used the power of the divine relic to go against her. Obviously, this Yi Qing Luo was just an ant which could be easily pinched to death. Why could she withstand the power of the divine relic? Why was it that Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she was not affected at all, and could freely control the power of the divine relic? Fox Saint Law, you have no way out now. How could Yi Qing Luo not see the hatred in Fox Saint Law's eyes? She laughed softly, as her brows were filled with ridicule and disdain. I don't need to waste any energy to deal with you, anyway. From the moment you accepted that energy, you must die. Fox Saint Law's pupils suddenly expanded. I will not die. I absolutely will not die. Yi Qing Luo smiled elegantly. Do you really think I don't know that there's a spy from your secluded palace in the Miao tribe? You brought people from secluded palace and a batch of defective goods to encircle the Miao tribe. What's your purpose? Do you think I can't tell? Fox Saint Law's face turned pale, hearing Yi Qing Luo's confident words. It was as if he had already known their intentions. Now he was just inviting the enemy into the jar, catching a turtle in the jar. Whereas Fox Saint Technique's reaction had exactly verified Yi Qing Luo's guess. People from the Dark Abyss Palace, sure enough, they knew that Dmo Xian would not be able to appear at this time. He had rushed over specially. Their first target was indeed Dmo Xian. This would explain why the Palace of Gloomy Shadows would send a madman from the Hell Palace to assist them. This knowledge caused her heart to thump fiercely. Fox Saint Technique, originally, it wasn't easy for you to revive, and I didn't want to kill you, but now, you must die. Yi Qing Luo's eyes suddenly turned extremely cold. His voice was also as cold as ice. It concerned Dmo Xian. She couldn't stay calm anymore. She raised her glowing flame fan and drew a line of flames in the air. That flame scuttled around Yi Qing Luo's palm. Then, with a loud rumble, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it charged right at the face of the Fox Saint Technique. If you try to escape, I'll kill you before you escape. You want to continue fighting with me? Then, I'll wait for you to self-explode and die. In any case, you must die. Yi Qing Luo's voice was like a sharp blade. Together with that scuttling flame, it covered the sky and covered the earth as it attacked Fox Saint Technique. Star. Chapter 2972. Yi Qing Luo's entire body was shrouded in a bloody aura. Coupled with her domineering and majestic aura, it made one extremely shocked. Fox Saint Law didn't even have a chance to dodge. And there was no way to dodge. If she dodged, she would have to expend the last bit of energy in her body. Then, what awaited her was possibly her body exploding to death or a backlash. Not dodging. Yi Qing Luo's move was obviously filled with icy cold murderous intent. If she was hit, she would definitely die. Fox Saint Law pressed against her chest as her brain roared furiously in her heart. You don't tell me you really want to see me die. However, there was no response from that cold and gloomy voice. In just a few breaths, Yi Qing Luo's attack landed head-on. Fox Saint Law's eyes were scarlet red and her strong survival instinct made her follow her own instincts as she quickly adjusted the profound energy in her body, gathering it into her legs. The scorching feeling instantly scorched Fox St. Law's heart. A burst of exploding feeling swelled her limbs and bones. Ah ah ah, a sharp scream came out from Fox St. Law's mouth. Just when the Fox St. Law thought that he was going to be forced to explode and die from the swelling pain, the Fox St. Law suddenly stopped. Suddenly, a warm current spread from the bottom of her heart. Like a source of warmth, it slowly soothed the waves of scorching feeling. Under this warm current, Fox St. Law's swelling pain, which was on the verge of exploding, finally eased down. Fox St. Law was stunned for a moment by this sudden change. But very quickly, she regained her senses as she raised her eyes and looked at Yi-Ching Luo vigilantly. Boom! A huge explosion exploded in the sky. The pitch-black sky suddenly surged with endless cold air. SSSSS, another bolt of lightning fell. It was as if a huge hole had been torn open in the pitch-black night sky. In the dark night sky, lightning flashed and thunder roared. The icy cold air circulated in mid-air. Yi-Ching Luo's gaze was also attracted by this shocking sound. She frowned as she looked at the lightning flashing and thunder roaring in the sky. Could it be that the people from the upper realm had sensed that the lower realm's peace was disrupted and specially came to stop it? After all, Hell Palace, that was a powerhouse from the Earth realm. The people from the Earth realm had interfered in the lower realm's matters. That would violate the balance between the realms. He was also looking down on the authority of the sovereigns. But everything was not as what Yi-Ching Luo had expected. The rumbling thunder and lightning in the sky did not strike the people of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness, nor did it strike the Fox Saint technique. He just kept tearing at the light on his body, dyeing the night sky. Yi-Ching Luo's heart had an indescribable feeling of uneasiness, which was attacking her. In less than the time it takes to burn half an incense stick. Suddenly, a ray of white light, like a beam of light, shot toward the sky where the lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A deafening roar rang out. The white light disappeared into the lightning and thunder. Then, the sky returned to its tranquility. It was as if the lightning and thunder from before had never appeared. This scene caused everyone to be dumbstruck. They were truly unable to understand exactly what this wave of lightning and thunder represented. Everyone stared at the sky that had calmed down. Because of this, he did not discover it. At this moment, Yi-Ching Luo's entire face had already turned pale. She gripped the glowing flame fan tightly in her hand, and curled up tightly. Her pearly white teeth bit her lower lip tightly, as though she was enduring something. If one took a closer look, they would be able to see that her body was trembling slightly. Yi-Ching Luo blinked her eyelashes very, very hard. Her heart seemed as though it had been knocked hard by something. If she didn't see it wrongly, the direction where the white light appeared. Chapter 2973. That white light, what was it? The ex-saintess has ascended. Faintly, Yi-Ching Luo heard an extremely shocked voice. Yi-Ching Luo's body moved as her gaze speedily followed the direction of the voice and looked over. Next to the chaotic battlefield, Great Elder Miao and Second Elder Miao were supporting each other, while Fourth Elder Miao was walking at the very front. Great Elder Miao raised his head and stared at the spot where the white light had disappeared. He said, "The former holy maiden has ascended. The Miao tribe is completely hopeless." Second Elder Miao immediately raised his head and looked at Yi-Ching Luo. When he realized that Yi-Ching Luo's line of sight was also directed towards him, Second Elder Miao opened his mouth, looking as if he wanted to say something. "What are you looking at?" Fourth Elder Miao's face instantly sank when he noticed Second Elder Miao's gaze, and he swiftly turned around to slap Second Elder Miao's face. "Do you still expect that rascal to save you? You want her to save you after what you did to her just now?" Fourth Elder Miao's slap caused Second Elder Miao to lose his balance. Even though he was supporting the great elder Meow, the slap still sent him stumbling back several steps before landing heavily on the ground. Even great elder Meow was dragged along. He staggered a few steps back. His expression was cold as he shouted, "Fourth brother, what are you doing? I am teaching you the rules of the palace of gloomy darkness." Fourth elder Meow didn't bother to hide anymore. He looked at the two people in front of him with disdain. "Now, you are the dogs of the palace of darkness, and I have a higher position than you. Don't try to show off in front of me with the rules of the Meow tribe." Great elder Meow and second elder Meow were trembling with rage. However, no one dared to refute fourth elder Meow's words. This look of compromise. It was obvious that he had suffered a great loss at the hands of fourth elder Meow. Whereas Yi Ching Luo, who was not too far away, heard their conversation clearly. Her eyes instantly darkened. The spy of the Meow tribe, it was fourth elder Meow. He told the dark secluded palace about the situation of the Meow tribe and told them to surround and attack the Meow tribe. It was fourth elder Meow. It was this fourth elder Meow, putting a Xian in danger. Yi Ching Luo's eyes flashed as a trace of biting cold murderous intent flashed past. The place where the former saintess ascended is in the saintess yard. The overlord must also be there. Immediately bring people to break into the saintess yard, find the overlord, and kill him directly. Fourth elder Meow hadn't noticed that Yi Ching Luo had already placed all her attention on him. He continued to give orders to great elder Meow and second elder Meow. Fourth elder Meow had always been oppressed by the two of them because he was the fourth elder of the Meow clan. At this moment, he finally had a chance to retaliate. He was so pleased with himself that he didn't notice any other details. When this sentence entered Yi Ching Luo's ears, Yi Ching Luo's expression changed completely. She raised her eyes and immediately looked in the direction of the saintess yard. This group of people, their target was indeed Dmo Xian. Fourth elder Meow instructed Meow De and Meow Air to kill Dmo Xian once they found him. These words obviously meant that he was certain that the current Dmo Xian had no ability to retaliate at all. In other words, fourth elder Meow was completely certain that Dmo Xian had been poisoned. So he specially took this chance to kill Dmo Xian. This thought made Yi Ching Luo's heart twitch fiercely. She didn't have any chance to hesitate. Chapter 2974. Yi Ching Luo, have you forgotten that this palace mistress is still here? Just as Yi Ching Luo was about to reveal her back without any worries, a complacent and vicious voice suddenly rang behind her. What followed was an aggressive fluctuation of qi, stirring up stormy waves in the air. Bam! Bringing along the power of the black qi wave, it landed heavily on the young lady's delicate back. The young lady's slender body flew out in an arc in midair. A red remnant shadow flew out horizontally. Ching Luo, Yan Xiao Yi and the others' green veins popped out as they hurriedly rushed towards the direction where the red robe flew out. Qi Yan flew in a circle. That red figure fell steadily into the soft phoenix feathers. Shi Ju followed closely as it stood by the side of Qi Yan. Its huge leopard head arched towards Qi Yan's back. Stinky leopard! Don't dirty this sacred beast's phoenix feathers. Qi Yan didn't change its sharp and unkind nature as it arrogantly raised its head and used its mouth to spread its wings. Shi Ju gave a low, "oh whoa," as though it was feeling wronged. Yan Xiao Yi and the rest also rushed over. They raised their heads as they looked at the two huge war beasts on the horizon. Seeing Qi Yan catching Yi Ching Luo, they heaved a sigh of relief, but when they recalled that Yi Ching Luo had suffered from Fox Sacred Technique's palm earlier, they were extremely worried. Qi Yan, let us take a look at Ching Luo's condition. Yan Xiao Yi opened her mouth anxiously. However, the arrogant Qi Yan used its high and mighty fiery red eyes to sweep them a glance as it sneered, "This sacred beast's master, this sacred beast is able to protect her." You're just a burden. Cough, cough, cough. On Qi Yan's back, that petite figure suddenly sat up. She covered her mouth as blood seeped out from the gaps between her fingers. An exquisite little face was extremely pale. Qing Luo. The few of them cried out worriedly in unison. Qing Luo held on to Qi Yan's phoenix feathers as she propped herself up as her eyes stared coldly in front. Fox's sacred technique stood there arrogantly as he laughed complacently. Qing Luo's slender brows creased tightly. She was certain. His move just now had definitely landed on Fox Saint Technique's body. Regardless of whether the Fox Saint Technique had used the power in her body that did not belong to her to dodge, or to completely withstand her attack. The end of Fox Saint Technique. They would all die. Why could Fox Saint still stand there? Earlier, that overbearing and dense profound energy that struck her body. He didn't seem to be hurt at all. Not only did the Fox Saint Law not die. He even took the chance when she was worried about Dmo Xian. Gave her a slap. Qing Luo, do you really think that your judgment is 100% correct? What a pity. This palace master won't die. The one who will die will only be you. Fox Saint Law laughed arrogantly, his eyes already filled with a raging storm. While they were talking, all of a sudden, a wave of dense and powerful energy surged out from Fox Saint Law's body, as though it could attract all the air in the surroundings, turning it into a surging wave of air. That was the chill of absolute death. This made Qing Luo's heart sink a little. She pressed her hand to her chest. She had received a solid blow from Fox Saint Law's palm strike. This palm strike had caused her internal injury, which wasn't light at all. She held her breath tightly as she adjusted the profound qi in her body, circulating it around her injury. Following that, she speedily fed herself a few pills to adjust her internal injury. Chapter 2975. Xiao Yi. Qing Luo's palm lit up with a raging flame as she panted heavily, using the mercenary group token between them to communicate. You guys bring Qi Yan and Shi Ju over to the place where the white light appeared earlier. What about you? Yan Xiao Yi replied quickly. Qing Luo's charming eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. Fox Saint Technique will not let me leave. Their target is Ah Xian. Quickly go over. Don't let them find Ah Xian. Miao Xi ascended. This meant that Miao Yi was the only one left in the Saintess yard. Although Qi was guarding the place. But, the so-called person from the underworld palace of the gloomy darkness palace had yet to be confirmed, so no one knew who he was. In any case, the Saintess Institute must not be disturbed. Whereas Qing Luo used the mercenary group's token to communicate, which made Yan Xiao Yi and the others stunned. Following that, after hearing Qing Luo's words clearly, his heart was also in his throat. Dmo Xian was in the Holy Maiden Institute. Based on Dmo Xian's ability, was there a need for Qing Luo to worry? Unless, everyone recalled Qing Luo's soulless state not long ago. His heart couldn't help but thump violently. Dmo Xian was definitely dispelling the venom. At this moment, if Dmo Xian was found by the people from the Nether Palace, the consequences were unthinkable. Yan Xiao Yi knew how important Dmo Xian was to Qing Luo. She did not hesitate any longer. He whispered to the people around him, "Follow me." She immediately ran in the direction of the Saintess yard. At the same time, Qing Luo also gave Qi Yan and Shi Ju an order. Qi Yan glanced in the direction of the Saintess yard and snorted coldly. This holy beast is not interested in protecting those old, weak, sick and disabled people. Qing Luo didn't have the mood to joke around with the medicine. Her eyes were gloomy. If anything goes wrong over there, you better be prepared to go back to sleep. After that, she didn't even look at Qi Yan. Waving the devouring flame fan, the flames on his body swayed like a fire elf in the wind, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws as he attacked. The target of Netherworld Palace was Dmo Xian. The Fox Saint technique would definitely not let her leave. She wanted to rush to the Saintess courtyard. He could only kill Fox Saint Law. Although she didn't know what method the Fox Saint technique had used to be able to block her move just now. But the foundation of the Fox Saint technique was there. Can have a good luck once. However, it did not mean that she could continue her good luck. Fox Saint Fa seemed as though she hadn't expected that after Yi Qing Luo had completely taken one palm from her, she still had some leeway to retaliate. The complacent smile on her face instantly froze. Yi Qing Luo, how could you? That palm just now, the Fox Saint technique had already exhausted all of its profound energy. No one knew, just as she was about to explode and die, that warm current not only soothed her restless profound qi, but it also soothed her restless profound qi. Slowly, the power that didn't belong to her was extracted from her body. Pull away. This meant that her body no longer had to suffer the pain of exploding to death or the backlash. But once he withdrew, her crippled body would be so weak that she had no way to go against Yi Qing Luo. Because of this, just now, when the power was withdrawn, Fox Saint technique exhausted its last bit of energy and attacked Yi Qing Luo, attempting to take away her life. That kind of power. Not only did it not cause Yi Qing Luo to die or be seriously injured, it even allowed Yi Qing Luo to counterattack once again. And she didn't even have the energy to evade. Yi Qing Luo's heart was filled with anxiety at this moment. Her mind was filled with thoughts of killing the Fox Saint technique and rushing over to Dmo Xian's side. Chapter 2976. Huff, the raging hurricane stirred up everything around it. The raging flame wind blades shot out from Yi Qing Luo's hands, forming a gorgeous sharp edge in midair. That raging flame wind blade was like a huge bloody mouth. As though it wanted to tear Fox Saint Law's entire body into its stomach. Between Fox Saint Law's pupils, patches of raging flame spread out. Her expression was twisted and sinister, and from her throat, there was an uncontrollable howl of unwillingness. Clang! Suddenly, a black ray brushed past that wind blade which was about to land on Fox Saint Law. The black ray was sharp, as it collided with that wind blade. Instantly, the air seemed to be compressed by something. The entire space seemed as though it was about to shatter. The raging wind howled, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. Everything in the Miao tribe had turned into a piece of ruins. Looks like, it's not that your luck is good, but there's someone who has been using his own life to protect you. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes, a biting cold glint, as it swept past that sudden black ray. Others couldn't tell. She could absolutely tell. That black ray, wasn't it the profound yin qi which came from Wolf Saint Law? It was Wolf Saint Law. That person who loved Fox Saint Law made use of Yi Qing Qian's corpse to revive Fox Saint Law. Originally, she thought that Wolf Saint Law had used the resurrection secret art, causing his body to deteriorate, and was unable to stop Fox Saint Law's actions tonight. She had not expected. Wolf Saint Law was actually in the dark, silently protecting Fox Saint Law. This feeling was really touching. Brother Wolf. Fox Saint Law, at the moment of life and death, realized who was the source of the energy which was blocking in front of her, protecting her. Fox Saint Law's face instantly revealed an ecstatic smile. A black figure gradually appeared in front of Fox Saint Law. When Fox Saint Law saw that muscular and imposing figure in front of her, the smile on her lips became even wider. Her arms encircled the man's waist. I knew it. It's you who are protecting me. Who, Wolf Saint Law's voice was slightly hoarse. He raised his hand, holding the soft little hand on his waist. He could feel the woman's soft and delicate body behind him, as well as that familiar fragrance. The wolf saint technique closed its eyes in satisfaction. However, this kind of warmth, in this kind of place, in this kind of situation, was not suitable. Yi Qing Luo didn't have the time to look at their warmth. Holy wolf technique. Yi Qing Luo's voice was chilly, as though it could reverberate faintly. It's you, who helped Fox sacred technique to block that move, and also helped Fox sacred technique to expel that energy which didn't belong to her body. Just now, Fox Saint Law was able to be safe and sound in that kind of situation. Not only did he not explode and die, he could even turn the tables and give her a slap. Yi Qing Luo had been guessing the reason behind it. After seeing the wolf saint technique, they understood. With the holy wolf technique, how could he just watch as something happened to Fox saint technique? However, in the past, the strength of the wolf saint technique was inferior to hers. Not to mention now, after using the resurrection secret technique, what kind of strength could he still have to be able to block that move of hers? He also expelled the evil energy from the Fox Saint technique's body. It should be very difficult. Unless the Wolf Saint Law had made a deal with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Or perhaps the Wolf Saint Law forcefully displayed the dark secret technique. This thought made Yi Qing Luo squint her eyes, as she stared at the Wolf Saint Law in detail, sizing him up. Her gaze had only touched that not unfamiliar face of the Wolf Saint Law. Chapter 2977. TSK. I have to praise you, you're indeed an infatuated man. Yi Qing Luo's smile was icy cold as her lips twitched. For the Fox Saint skill, you don't even intend to take your own life. Wolf Saint Law's breathing tightened. His hand which was holding Fox Saint Law's hand subconsciously tightened. When Fox Saint Law heard that, she suddenly felt flustered and wanted to retract her hand anxiously. Brother Wolf, what does she mean? What, don't want your own life? But before she could retract her hand, she was caught by Wolf Saint Law. For some reason, Fox Saint Fei always felt that the strong and powerful hand that usually held her hand was soft at this moment, as if she could not use any strength at all. She just wants to disturb our hearts, don't listen to her. Wolf Saint Law's gentle voice answered Fox Saint Law. Such gentleness. It was Yi Qing Luo's first time seeing it. Even if it was towards Yi Qing Qian. She had never seen Wolf Saint Law so gentle before. Was this the difference between a true love and a substitute? Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept past Wolf Saint Law's pale white face. Although Wolf Saint Law tried his best to restrain himself, but everyone could see that. Between Wolf Saint Law's brows, the creases were tightly knitted, and the cold sweat kept oozing out. It could be seen that Wolf Saint Law's current body was already in a terrible state. Right now, he was just forcing himself. It seemed that in the actions of protecting the Fox Saint technique again and again, it had already caused Wolf Saint Law's body to become more and more dispirited. Fox Saint Law also felt that something was wrong with Wolf Saint Law. Hearing his words, she felt even more flustered. Brother Wolf, did you block the attack for me and hurt yourself? Wolf Saint Law panted, as though it was difficult for him to speak. Don't let your imagination run wild, I'm fine. Brother Wolf. Fox Saint Law frowned, her face was filled with panic. At this moment, she looked like a girl next door. There wasn't a single bit of that malevolent and terrifying look. Looking at the two of them talking, Yi Qing Luo's palm wind moved, a cold murderous intent appeared in between her brows. What do you think your appearance can change? You can protect her the first time, the second time, but can you protect her the third time, the fourth time? Following Yi Qing Luo's voice, Yi Qing Luo spun the glower flame fan and it had already turned into a sharp weapon as she pressed forward. Don't fight. Anyone who stands in my way will die. The wolf saint technique grabbed the fox saint technique's hand tightly, and the mysterious yin qi in his body followed the palm wind and split it apart. The two forces only collided in midair for several breaths of time. Yiqing Luo's attack had obviously gained the upper hand as she directly slashed a gap and dispersed that ball of profound yin qi. And the wolf saint technique took advantage of this opportunity. Pulling the fox saint technique, he quickly retreated. In just a few steps, he had already returned to the back of the enormous, dinosaur-like magical beast. Yiqing Luo, are you very worried about Sacred Maiden Institute? Although the wolf Xingfa's hoarse voice sounded unstable, the ruthlessness in his tone was evident. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled violently as the icy chill in her eyes deepened. You want to go there? You want to stop Gloomy Palace? Wolf Saint Law chuckled, but it's too late. Yiqing Luo's expression congealed instantly. She pursed her lips tightly, not daring to open her mouth easily. She was very clear about the wolf Saint Law's sinister nature. There was a possibility that he was intentionally bluffing her. Chapter 2978. Yiqing Luo's fingers curled up tightly as she gripped the glower flame fan tightly, suppressing the surging emotions in her heart to maintain her balance. Although the appearance of this saint magic can't change anything, but this saint magic has brought you a gift. Wolf Saint Magic didn't care if Yiqing Luo admitted it or not. Between his brows was a deathly stillness. Gift? These two words made Yiqing Luo's alarm went off. In her mind, 3 words instantly surfaced: hell, prison, residence. Yiqing Luo's heart thumped hard. She instinctively turned her head, wanting to escape. But everything was already too late. Just at the instant when her footsteps moved, a hurricane filled with vigorous energy shot downward swiftly. The swirling sand directly blocked her path. Following that was a gust of sharp murderous aura, directly pressuring Yiqing Luo's face. The raging wind kept howling furiously. Yiqing Luo's body, at this moment, was exactly the same as when Fox Saint Magic's profound energy exploded, unable to move at all. As though both her legs were shackled and bound. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes instantly froze. The chilliness between her brows also magnified at this moment. She forcefully held on to her last breath, as her fingers pressed hard on the glower flame fan. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, even with the glower flame fan's protective shield. That surging energy. It directly tore a few holes on Yiqing Luo's robe. There were even some red robes, dancing along the raging wind. Strong. So strong. Yiqing Luo's pupils slowly congealed. The expression on her face, at this moment, became extremely grave. The current battlefield was no longer something which those ordinary secluded palaces' disciples, or Miao tribesmen, could interfere in. They could only quietly observe the changes, waiting for any chance to escape. The surrounding gravel swept up the storm, as though it was going to swallow everything around, completely. Thick sand and stones surged. Great Elder Miao and Second Elder Miao looked at the corpses on the ground, and the Miao tribesmen who were huddled in a corner, shivering. Their hearts were in extreme pain. Yet now, even they themselves were being controlled by someone else. Second Elder Miao clenched his fist tightly and covered his chest. He wiped the blood off his lips and said, "Fourth Elder, you are lying to us. Even if they joined the Palace of Darkness, they will not let the Miao tribe go." It was not only the Miao people. Even the disciples of the Dark Abyss Palace who came here today. Those so-called Vice Palace Masters, holy techniques, and leaders. He had no intention of sparing their lives. They were from the beginning. He wanted to kill everyone here. The sudden and powerful energy permeated the entire Miao tribe. Even the previously complacent Fourth Elder Miao cowered at this moment. Hearing Second Elder Miao's question, Fourth Elder Meow's heart became even more flustered. Naturally, he could tell as well. The Palace of Gloomy Darkness did not intend to let anyone off. He had also been deceived by the people from the Palace of Darkness. But now, he was being questioned by Meowda and Meow Air. He couldn't reveal even the slightest bit of abnormality. Otherwise, even though the two of them had lost a lot of power, but if they joined hands, they would still be able to deal with him. Fourth Elder Meow snorted coldly with a gloomy expression. In the Meow tribe, that bunch of trash, if they can't survive, then it's because they are too weak. I persuaded you to join the Palace of Gloomy Darkness, that's on account of our past relationship, to spare your lives. If you want to die together with the Meow tribe trash, then go ahead. Chapter 2979. Grand Elder Meow and Second Elder Meow were originally certain that Fourth Elder Meow was intentionally lying to them. But looking at Fourth Elder Meow's look. But it didn't look like he was lying. Especially when they heard that Fourth Elder Meow asked them to join the Palace of Darkness, that was to let them live on. The expression on their faces eased up slightly. Fourth Elder Meow, who had followed the both of them for several decades, could tell what they were thinking from their expressions. Fourth Elder Meow also eased up his tone as he suppressed his voice and pretended to be mysterious as he got closer to them. You've also seen it clearly, Palace of Darkness motive today isn't because of the Meow tribe. If you want to occupy a certain position in Palace of Darkness, then we have to help Palace of Darkness to achieve their motive. Grand Elder Meow immediately looked at the gorgeous young lady whose entire body was encircled with red glow, as though she was enveloped in a blazing fire. The young lady's eyes were icy cold as the energy she released was majestic and intimidating. He couldn't help but shivered. If we can settle Yi Qing Luo, then there's no need for Palace of Darkness to take action. Who said Palace of Darkness motive is Yi Qing Luo? Fourth Elder Meow had an impatient look as he interrupted Grand Elder Meow's words. Haven't you realized, Yi Qing Luo's bunch of brothers, and those two terrifying war pets, have all disappeared? Grand Elder Meow and Second Elder Meow's eyes flashed as they immediately looked around. Indeed, they didn't discover those figures. But we also don't know, Palace of Darkness motive, and what those people are going to do. How can we help Palace of Darkness? Second Elder Meow's white brows creased tightly as he asked. Let's follow Yi Qing Luo's bunch of brothers over and see what they are going to do, then stop them. Fourth Elder Meow narrowed his eyes as his lips curled upwards in a sneaky manner. He raised his hand as he pointed towards the path which Yen Shao Yi and the rest had left on. As long as we stop them, then we will know what Palace of Darkness motive is. By then, as long as there's a chance, we'll help Palace of Darkness to complete their mission. By then, do you think? Whatever we want, Palace of Darkness will not give it to us. Recalling how he had been tricked by Fourth Elder Meow earlier, Great Elder Meow hesitated when he heard his suggestion. Fourth Elder Meow changed his expression and sneered. He turned around and left. Since you're not willing, I'll follow you myself. Don't say that I didn't warn you. After he finished speaking, he followed the direction that Yen Shao Yi and the rest had left in without turning back. Great Elder Meow and Second Elder Meow looked at each other. 5 fingers, clenched and loosened and clenched again. After repeating this process for a long time, he gritted his teeth and followed behind. Now, they had no other choice. Whereas at this moment, Yi Qing Luo, who was contending against that valiant energy, had already turned pale and her body, which was suspended in mid-air, was on the verge of collapse. If it wasn't for the fact that he was worried about Dmo Xian and was struck by the Fox Saint technique, Yi Qing Luo wasn't in such a sorry state. As expected of an interesting prey, in the sky, a cold voice sounded. It was as if it was coming from all directions. Just listening to that voice, everyone felt their scalps turning numb as chills ran down their spines. Even if it was Yi Qing Luo, when she heard that voice, she couldn't help but frown. Her petite body gradually tensed up. That person. Chapter 2980. Boom. 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 The deafening sound of the profound wave reverberated in the air. The ground, which had already turned into waste, along with the vibration, continuously cracked open again. With a burst of shaking, the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Yi-Ching Luo was forced to squint her eyes by this force. In the midst of the hazy air waves, Yi-Ching Luo suddenly saw a tall and sturdy figure not far away following the profound wave. That person's figure was sturdy, dressed in a black robe, covering his entire body. Following the surrounding whirlwind, his robe fluttered, making a fluttering sound. The most shocking thing was, his entire body was shrouded in a thick layer of evil qi, wrapping him tightly within. Yi-Ching Luo only felt the azure dew bracelet on her wrist, boiling hot. Beside her ear, came old man Tsang's hurried voice, "It's him. The evil qi from the underworld palace. Lass, you're not his opponent, quickly leave. Think of a way to leave. Underworld palace." Yi-Ching Luo's heart suddenly trembled, her 5 fingers tightly clasped the glower flame fan, trying hard to stabilize her state of mind, forcing herself to open her eyes, sizing up that person. But, when both her eyes, completely fixed on that person, Yi-Ching Luo instantly felt a cold big hand, penetrating her neck, directly clutching her heart. Making her heart, suddenly, feel a sharp pain. Her throat seemed to have lost the strength to breathe. This was from the earth realm, the power of the underworld palace. As that person neared, the chilly wind around them became more and more violent. Yi-Ching Luo's torn robe poured in the cold wind. 3,000 fine black hair, dancing wildly on her shoulders. Swish! Only to hear the sound of a figure passing by in the air. Another blink of an eye. The cold and gloomy breath was already close at hand, assaulting her nose. That person, and Yi-Ching Luo, was only 3 steps away. Close. That black evil qi which enveloped that man, was hazy, faintly discernible. Vaguely, Yi-Ching Luo vaguely saw that person's face. That was what kind of face? Even if it was just a blur. Yi-Ching Luo's impression of that face was still extremely deep. Facial features were still considered regular. If one only saw half of his face, he could be considered handsome. But, if one looked at the face as a whole, that was simply shocking. Half of the face, from the forehead to the chin, had a deep gash. That gaping wound could still be vaguely seen, a ghastly wound. It was extremely terrifying and disgusting. From his forehead to his eyes, there was a mass of blood-red substance covering his face. If one took a closer look, they would have the illusion that an eyeball had popped out from the mass of blood. In addition, the man's eyes. It was a pair of eyes that made her body stiffen, as if she was in an ice house, unable to move. The chilly aura that assaulted their nostrils was accompanied by an austere aura. Yi-Ching Luo's pupils contracted a few times. This person's aura was too majestic. Even she was not intimidated by him. If he took another step closer, Yi-Ching Luo's heart trembled fiercely. He wanted to move, but he couldn't. Ha! A chuckle escaped from the man's mouth. The cold voice seemed to be mocking something. He just looked at her quietly. Amidst the black fog, Yi-Ching Luo could see that the way that man looked at her was as if he had seen his delightful prey. Not bad, worthy for me to take action personally. That man's lips curled up coldly, as he laughed lowly. Chapter 2981. People from the Earth Realm. Just spitting out these 4 words, Yi-Ching Luo already felt endless pressure, filling her lips and tongue. She shut her eyes, took a deep breath and continued, "You came to Nirvana realm, aren't you afraid that the balance historian will arrest you?" That person's brows rose. The scar on his face, as well as that red mark, also started to squirm. "Since you're able to see through this seat's identity." His tone was obviously delighted. Yi-Ching Luo's slender fingers clenched tightly, forcing herself to calm down, fixing her sight on him. "Hell Palace's people, coming to bully people from the lower realm, aren't you afraid of sullying Hell Palace's prestige?" That person's eyes lit up, as though a red ball of blood seeped out a ray of light. "You know this seat. You, this young lass, know quite a lot." He laughed sinisterly. "On the account that you've won my heart, this seat allows you to say out your master's name, after I hand you over to the Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace. This seat will then let your master take revenge for you." These words could only be described with the word arrogant. That person obviously didn't put Yi-Ching Luo in his eyes. Instead, he directly set his sights on Yi-Ching Luo's master. In the eyes of that person from Hell Palace, a lower realm young lady, how could she be so powerful? She even knew about the Earth realm, Hell Palace and other news. There must be some expert behind her, there must be some existence. This young lass was chosen by the Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace. Then he would treat this young lass's master as his next prey. Ha! Yi-Ching Luo snorted lightly, as the gaze she shot towards that person was filled with contempt. "I thought Hell Palace was filled with talents, an existence beyond the three realms. I'd not expected, it's merely a lackey of Seclusion Palace." As she said that, she pretended to make a disdainful sound. Although Yi-Ching Luo's face had a calm and disdainful look. But her fingers, which were gripping the glower flame fan, had already betrayed her inner thoughts. Facing this person in front of her, the aura from him was simply too terrifying. Especially after her words were spoken. This person's emotions and that bone-chilling gaze became even more horrifying. She was betting. They were a bunch of lunatics who had gone crazy for evil arts. This group of lunatics, even if they were a group of lunatics that were neither human nor ghost. But he definitely still had his pride. Moreover, their self-esteem was even stronger than that of ordinary people. This group of unrestrained lunatics. Even the people of the Earth domain were terrified of him. Even the historian of balance was aware of the existence of this group of lunatics and this organization, but he still sat back and did nothing. From this, it could be seen that the group of madmen from the underworld palace were people that even those from the Earth realm did not wish to provoke. This kind of lunatic was usually the most free and unrestrained person. He especially couldn't allow others to humiliate him. Not to mention, comparing him to someone else's lackey. To madman, this was a great humiliation. That person's expression proved that Yi-Ching Luo's gamble was right. That person's gaze was like a death god, locking onto Yi-Ching Luo. His eyes were cold and indifferent. If it wasn't for the fact that Hell Palace owed the mistress of Seclusion Palace a favor, why would a Xiaba possibly come down to the lower realms? That person bellowed furiously, as a frenzied murderous intent surged in his eyes. He suddenly raised his hand. The hand under his sleeve was extremely slender, like a withered twig. The most terrifying thing was... Chapter 2982. It was just a glance. Yi-Ching Luo felt her scalp turning numb. That strange hand quickly reached out to her. Her heart felt as though it was suffocating as it was squeezed. She tried her best to raise her breath, trying to avoid that Hell Palace's man, who was Xiaoba's attack. But she hadn't moved. She only felt a cold breeze brushing past her cheek. In front of her, a figure appeared, blocking her firmly behind his back. And that withered palm which was surrounded by black chi directly grabbed that figure's neck, hanging that figure in his hand. Yi Qing Luo's body suddenly stiffened. The scene in front of her made her slightly stunned. That bamboo-colored figure was tall and slender, swaying in her eyes. Someone helped her to block Xia Ba's attack. Replaced her, to be strangled by Xia Ba. Yi Qing Luo's heart trembled fiercely when she saw clearly that tall figure's face in front of her. Her face instantly turned pale, her lips trembled slightly as she blurted out, "Gu." Young sect master Gu. The person who blocked in front of her, who replaced her. He was South Continent's young sect master, Gu Jingyu. Why? Why was Gu Jingyu still here? Early in the morning, after the King of Venomous Worms' inheritance ceremony had ended, hadn't most of the powerhouse's representatives left the Miao tribe? As South Continent's young sect master, shouldn't he have left earlier? And why did he run out to save her? Could it be that he couldn't tell that this lunatic called Xia Ba was so powerful? That he wasn't afraid of any powerhouses in Nirvana realm? Even if he was South Continent's young sect master, Xia Ba would absolutely not show any mercy. Qing Luo. Ah. Gu Jingyu painfully called out Yi Qing Luo's name. That suffocating feeling made his face flushed red and green-purple as his eyes protruded out. After he opened his mouth, the words were squeezed out from the slits of his teeth with much difficulty. Go. Quickly go. Gu Jingyu's hands grabbed Xia Ba's hand, as the strength of his struggle became weaker and weaker. You. Xia Ba's gaze fell on Gu Jingyu's face, and he immediately frowned, as if he wanted to say something. The torn wound, as well as the blood-like rolling mark on his eye, slowly wriggled. It was extremely horrifying and disgusting. Evil tyrant. Yi Qing Luo saw that Xia Ba's target had turned towards Gu Jingyu and immediately cried out sharply, "Your target is me, he's merely someone unimportant." Xia Ba's vision shifted from Gu Jingyu's face to Yi Qing Luo. Don't worry about me. Hurry up and leave, I will be fine. Gu Jingyu's hands were clutching onto Xia Ba with all his might, attempting to make Xia Ba's attention to himself, so that Yi Qing Luo could gain some time to escape. Looking at that face which had almost turned purple from suffocation, Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes trembled fiercely. She gripped the gourd flame fan tightly, then borrowed the strength of the deep water ring. A dense aura lingered between her palms. Without any hesitation, her eyes were icy cold, as she fiercely attacked Xia Ba's hand which was raised up. Overestimating yourself, little prey. Xia Ba sneered, as he didn't continue to make things difficult for Gu Jingyu. His 5 fingers loosened. He casually waved his sleeves towards the direction where Yi Qing Luo was attacking from. Black-colored qi, emitting a piercingly cold profound ray, headed towards Yi Qing Luo's face. Powerful profound energy covered the sky and earth as it pressed downwards. That bone-chilling cold. Chapter 2983. Hell Palace's Madman. So strong. It looked like he just casually waved his sleeves. But he was able to bring along such a powerful profound energy. Yi Qing Luo had originally suffered an internal injury from Fox Saint's technique. Following that was Evil Tyrant's counterattack. She couldn't hold on any longer. Her petite body was sent flying by the force of the backlash. Until she flew more than 10 meters away. Yi Qing Luo then managed to stabilize her figure. The loose strands of hair on her forehead stuck to her beautiful face. Her face was pale, pink lips were tightly pursed and her hair was in a mess. Obviously, she was in a sorry state. Yi Qing Luo panted heavily for a few times and following that, her vision immediately shot towards Gu Jingyu who had been released by Evil Tyrant and was lying limply on the ground. At this moment, Gu Jingyu was propped on the ground with one hand as he panted heavily. He who had always been gentle and elegant, was in a sorry state at this moment. As though he noticed Yi Qing Luo's gaze. Gu Jingyu panted as he raised his head and looked at Yi Qing Luo. When his four eyes met with Yi Qing Luo, that pale and frail face surfaced a faint, warm smile. That smile made Yi Qing Luo's heart had a sour feeling. Her 5 fingers slowly curled up. She knew that Gu Jingyu liked her. And right from the start, she had clearly rejected Gu Jingyu. Obviously, there wasn't any deep interaction between them previously. But she had not expected Gu Jingyu could actually disregard his own life for her. Even at this moment. To make her feel at ease. He even forced a smile to express that he was fine. This man. He was really an extremely gentle person. Perhaps it was because their gazes were too obvious. Evil Tyrant's eyes were filled with interest when he saw that Yi Qing Luo wasn't seriously injured after his counterattack. Following Yi Qing Luo's gaze, he looked towards Gu Jingyu. That evil, cold and treacherous gaze flashed. The interest contained in it was overflowing as it became more and more intense. The next moment, he raised his hand once again. A gust of evil qi sprang out from his palm. Only to see that ball of evil qi quickly twining around Gu Jingyu's body. Ah! Gu Jingyu had yet to catch his breath when his arms were restrained by a gust of energy. Evil Tyrant raised his hand. Gu Jingyu's body was also directly dragged to the horizon by the evil aura. Evil Tyrant. Yi Qing Luo clenched her teeth as she stared at Xia Ba. To deal with a lower realm like me, do you need to use an unimportant person to threaten me? Is this the power of the Hell Palace? Xia Ba laughed coldly. His eyes were filled with ridicule and madness. He tilted his head and grinned. His smile was sinister and cold. In addition to that face, it brought about a strange and terrifying feeling. He looked like a madman. Is this your little lover? From the looks of it, compared to you, I'm far inferior. Xia Ba cast a disdainful glance at Gu Jingyu. Little girl, your taste is really bad. What has this got to do with you? Yi Qing Luo didn't have the mood to explain her relationship with Gu Jingyu to Xia Ba. Looking at Gu Jingyu's increasingly painful appearance, Yi Qing Luo's eyes were about to burst into flames. Evil Tyrant. Since you are helping the Palace of Gloomy Darkness to deal with me, then come at me directly. Don't think that I'm really afraid of you who came from the Earth realm. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's infuriated look, Xia Ba laughed even more crazily. As he laughed, a tyrannical and terrifying aura exploded from his body. That horrifying and disgusting eyes exuded a thick chill. Almost greedily, Gu Jingyu wanted to open his eyes and look at the face that was so close to him. His thin lips moved, wanting to speak. But it was the medicinal pill that Yi Qing Luo had fed him, sealing all his words. The imprints of the successors of the 4 major sects have appeared. As the successor of the sect leader, you will receive the protection of the 4 major sections. Yi Qing Luo's tone was very calm as her slender fingers brushed past Gu Jingyu's forehead. On Gu Jingyu's forehead, a feather-like imprint surfaced. This imprint was very similar to that fellow Yi Fengyu's imprint. Thinking about it, this should be the West Continent, Gu Feng sect's young sect master's imprint. Chapter 2985. Yes, your mark as the young matriarch of Wind Valley sect has surfaced. Yi Qing Luo repeated with certainty as her fingers moved away from his forehead. Gu Jingyu's hand moved, as though he wanted to grab onto something. Between his brows, there was an obvious sense of disappointment. Yi Qing Luo thought that Gu Jingyu wanted to raise his hand to touch his mark as she comforted him warmly. The pills I fed you are all high-grade pills. Rest for a while and you will be able to regain your strength. Gu Jingyu's lips trembled. Even though it was stained with blood, it couldn't conceal the paleness of his lips. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways as her peripheral vision shot a glance at Xiaoba, who was looking at them eerily as she squinted her eyes. Whatever you want to say it later. She stood up and turned towards Xiaoba's direction. She repeated what old man Tsang had told her previously to Gu Jingyu. The Wind Valley sect mark on your forehead has appeared. The power of the four great sects will protect you. If the people from secluded Darkness Palace want to protect their own position in Nirvana realm and cover up everything that they had done, they will absolutely not dare to touch you. Once they touch you, the Overlord will definitely sense the presence of the lower realm. If the Balance Historian comes to Nirvana realm and interferes in this matter, then secluded Darkness Palace's painstaking efforts will all go to waste. This was like earlier, when her profound jade heart exploded with powerful energy, leading to the Balance Historian's detection. According to rumors, the lower realm's four great sects were the servants left behind by the God Emperor to maintain the balance in the lower realm. Once the acknowledged successor met with any mishap, that would represent the collapse of one side's power. The balance in the lower realm would definitely be broken. The Balance Historian would absolutely not allow such an accident to happen. Gu Jingyu's breathing congealed. Even though his mind was muddled, but he could still hear Yiqing Luo's words clearly. His half-lidded eyes blinked hard. He tried his best to see the young lady in front of him more clearly. But all he could see was that slender, yet filled with boundless energy from her back. Her red robe was cut into numerous pieces as it hung on her body. She was obviously in a sorry state, but there was a unique charm to it. It made one to have an inexplicable confidence in her. Inexplicably believing that even in a desperate situation, she could create miracles. Have you finished saying your last words to your little lover? Xiaoba laughed sinisterly, as though giving Yiqing Luo and Gu Jingyu the chance to speak earlier was already a favor to Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's eyes were clear and cold, her slender fingers gently caressed the azure dew ring on her fingertip. Her lips curled up as she smiled lightly. If you had come for me from the very beginning, perhaps I wouldn't be so angry. Her voice was clear and melodious, as if she was laughing. However, his tone was eerily cold. The smile on Xiaoba's face stiffened a little. His brows rose as he looked at Yiqing Luo with interest. His ability was above Yiqing Luo. Right from the start, although Yiqing Luo was facing him, she remained calm and composed. But Evil Tyrant could tell. His imposing manner had more or less awed Yiqing Luo. Furthermore, Xiaoba could obviously sense that Yiqing Luo's profound energy, which was raised by the god relic, was gradually dissipating. But Yiqing Luo's attitude towards him had changed. She looked at him with a gaze as cold as ice, so calm that there wasn't a single ripple. As though towards him, there was no longer any fear or awe. This kind of cognition made the sinister cold smile on Xiaoba's lips gradually thicken. If the prey could bring an unexpected surprise. Chapter 2986. Do you want to know the consequences of infuriating me? Yiqing Luo's eyes seemed to be surging with flames. Her lips curled into a seductive smile as she slowly raised the hand which was holding the glower flame fan. Her slender 5 fingers tightened one by one. The red feather fan seemed to be plated with a layer of fire. The azure dew ring on her fingertip also overflowed with red electric currents at this moment. Bit by bit, it enveloped Yiqing Luo. Her entire being seemed to have stepped into a sea of fire as her entire body was burning with raging flames. The violent and ruthless aura entangled her and entangled her. Consequences. Xiaoba didn't think much of it. Lass, aren't you a little too confident of yourself? Wanted to let him have a taste of the consequences. He was the overlord of an area in the Hell Palace. Even the Emperor of the Earth Realm had to take a detour when he saw him. This lass actually wanted to let him have a taste of the consequences. What a huge joke. Xiaoba laughed sinisterly. This seat's tolerance towards the prey has made the prey develop the thought of turning over and becoming the master. Looks like it's time for this seat to let you know. Just where is the disparity between you and this seat? Following Xiaoba's words. Around him, an explosive whirlwind was quickly stirred up around him. Various kinds of violent aura followed the whirlwind. His attitude was so free to do as he pleased. He totally didn't put Yi Qing Luo and the others in his eyes. He just stretched out his hand and pointed towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. That whirlwind became even more violent. Endless black aura shot out from his fingertips. Bam! That burst of black evil chi shot straight towards Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's brows were like frozen ice as her figure flashed and instantly evaded it. The evil chi crashed onto the ground, causing the ground which had already turned into ruins to splatter once again. That strike had a monstrous chi wave. Xiaoba squinted his eyes, and when he saw Yi Qing Luo evading this attack, his lips revealed a ridiculing cold smile. These evil energy blades won't end so easily. Let this seat see how long you can last. His cold and gloomy voice rang out in a leisurely manner. Following that, streams of black nefarious aura attacked him one after another like sharp weapons. Xiaoba was completely nonchalant. Where is the finger pointing? Sharp blades made of demonic energy shot out from that direction. Furthermore, the chi waves surged like surging waves, one wave after another, becoming more and more turbulent. Such dense evil energy blades. To Yi Qing Luo. It was like a submachine gun was constantly shooting at her. Just as evil tyrant was feeling smug and relaxed, shooting in all directions, suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his raised arm. Immediately after, a gust of strong wind blew in the air. Xiaoba reacted quickly and tried to dodge. But when he dodged to the side to avoid the oncoming force, he felt a chill run down his spine. Bang! A fist with scorching power landed on his face. Xiaoba's figure was sent flying. In an instant, a series of rumbling sounds rang out. The ruins and the surroundings once again shook as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was splitting apart. A powerful surge of energy spread out in the air. Boom! Xiaoba fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. His body swayed a few times. He rubbed his face in pain. The place which Yi Qing Luo had hit seemed to be on fire. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Xiaoba's mouth. He raised his hand and wiped off the blood stains on his lips bit by bit. Chapter 2987. Xiaoba's self-confidence made him totally not notice it. Just as he kept shooting out the evil chi sharp blades. That figure which was speedily shuttling through the evil chi sharp blades was already carrying a blazing rage, as it got closer and closer to him. The figure was flickering and flickering. Getting closer and closer. Xiaoba, who was totally unguarded and extremely conceited. Naturally, he fell for it. Towards Xiaoba's tricks. Yi Qing Luo had already been trained countless times by that bunch of old men in the Yi family in different ways back in the 21st century. Facing a hail of bullets, she was able to barge through it without any change in expression. Moreover, it was only at Xiaoba's level. Although Yi Qing Luo had used the Azure Dew Ring's last extreme energy, plus using her own blink movement secret art to upgrade her footwork, she speedily moved to Xiaoba's side and struck out these two moves. She had also successfully injured Xiaoba, and even saw blood. But after all, it wasn't a vital point that was injured. Just that after two mouthfuls of blood were spat out. Xiaoba then wiped his lips, as his expression had not changed at all. On the contrary, Yi Qing Luo. After striking out two moves, the red electric current which was circulating around her body, slowly dissipated. The young lady's flame seemed to have been sucked away by something at this instance. That slender figure floated gently in the breeze. Her face was pale, as though she would fall down from midair at any time. This pair of moves. It looked as though Xiaoba had fallen pathetically, injured. But in actual fact, Yiqing Luo's energy consumption was even greater. It's been a long time. A long time since I've smelled my own fresh blood. Xiaoba's sinister cold voice was slightly crazed as it rang. That withered finger of his lightly wiped his own lips. Black evil qi enshrouded. That lips, that hand, were extremely terrifying. That pair of death god-like eyes was filled with an excited expression, staring at Yiqing Luo without blinking. He stuck out his tongue. It swept past the blood stains on his fingertips. He laughed again. His laughter was extremely strange, filled with madness. It made one's hair stand on end. Young lass, you're not bad. This seed is getting more and more interested in you. That gloomy tone, no matter how one listened, it was penetrating. Yiqing Luo's fingers were clenched tightly as there wasn't a single trace of warmth on her icy cold face. Her charming eyes were icy cold as she stared at Xiaoba. Her breathing was slightly messy and heavy. This seed really wanted to ask the Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace for you. If I bring you back to Hell Palace, that bunch of lunatics would be willing to spend time on you. Ba grinned sinisterly as he touched his chin. The wound on his face and the blood-red birthmark kept wriggling as he grinned hideously. Faintly, there was some evil qi. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. Luo. Luo. Old man Song sensed Yiqing Luo's intention and immediately voiced out to stop her. Hell Palace's lunatics, none of them are normal. Furthermore, his strength is unfathomable. Even I can't detect his profound rank. If you were really brought to the Hell sect by him, even if the Overlord succeeded in curing the goo, he might not be able to bring you out of the Hell sect safely. If you're really brought to Hell Palace by him, even if the Overlord succeeds in curing the goo, perhaps he might not be able to bring you out safely. Old man Song's agitation made Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. So much so that he already had the impulse to cut open Yiqing Luo on the spot to study her profound jade heart, her meridians, internal organs, and so on. His greedy eyes were blazing hot. How could Yiqing Luo possibly not feel it? She gripped the glowing flame fan tightly and glanced at the deep water ring. In her heart, she had already made up her mind. Lass! You can't do this. Old man Song sensed the ups and downs of Yiqing Luo's emotions and anxiously shouted out. Old man Song, Yiqing Luo's voice was very light, with a trace of undetectable bitterness. It's always Ah Xian who's been protecting me with his life, with his skills and strength. It was impossible for him to be poisoned by Miao Rongrong and Miao Yixiong. He did it to protect me, because he loved me. She pursed her lips tightly, as her eyes had already turned red. She tried her best to hold back the tears in her eyes, not allowing them to fall. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.